Welcome back to the Bears Baseball Network. How's it going, everybody? I've got a great show for you today. We are going to recap the weekend, and then we are going to be all high school talk because our high school boys return this weekend, and I could not be more excited. We've got sleepers and breakouts and preseason award picks coming up later in the show. But first, I want to talk about this last weekend because it was a fun one, another successful weekend for the Bears. And let's get things started with some of our teams. And I'm going to be a little selfish here. I want to start with my 10U boys. They went out and dominated on Saturday, went 2-0. They ended up losing their Sunday game, but this is the best I've seen them play all year, and it's just been nice to see them continually get better. And I've kind of talked about their pitching staff a lot, and I'm going to do it one more time. Because on Saturday, my 10U pitching staff combined for the two games for 0 earned runs, 19 strikeouts to just 2 walks. Absolutely dominant on the mound, and I could not be more proud of them. They've gotten better every single week, and I'll tell you what, it wasn't just the pitching because the hitting really came alive too. We put up 28 runs in the 2 games on Saturday, which is more than we've put up in any 2 games combined all season long. And, through coaching this team, I've never really coached a team that wins games or plays games like 4-1 and 6-5, like these low-scoring games. Typically Bears teams play a lot of high-scoring games, 15-11, those type of games. And this has not been the 10U team. We've played a lot of low-scoring games. So I've been telling the boys, hey, if we can get our bats together, we're going to win a lot of baseball games because our pitching and defense is so good. And I think we finally put it all together on Saturday. So really proud of them. Our 7U Nickerson guys, they went 2-2 this weekend. A very nice little tournament for them. They're starting to come around as well, starting to really find it at the plate, and defensively starting to look pretty good as well. For our tournament winners, 12U Floyd, they took home their 5th tournament championship of the year. That leads all Bears teams. They have been very, very good. A 4-0 weekend and a very exciting championship game. They went to double California rules and ended up winning it with a walk-off. So let's go ahead and take a look at Carter Fleck and his walk-off hit in the championship game.
That's fine.
A very exciting moment, to say the least, and it was a fun weekend for 12U Floyd. They went out and crushed every team they played this weekend up until that championship game, and they won a hard-fought battle. So congratulations to 12U Floyd. They've been doing fantastic so far this year. 14U Dalton, they finished second this weekend in their tournament. They played a hard-fought battle in their championship game as well, but ended up on the wrong side. This 14U Dalton team, they lead the Bears in wins, so really can't complain with what they've been doing. Took a tough one this weekend to lose in the championship game, but they're going to get a lot of more championships this year. This is just one of those weekends for them where they weren't able to finish the deal. Couple other teams that finished second place this weekend. 12U Williams, they are just at 500 on the season, and they're a third-level team at 12U, and 500 is a big deal for them, and another second-place finish. They've been doing really, really well, that 12U Williams squad, and I got to say, the way the 12U age works in the Bears, I'm really not surprised that they've had this much success top to bottom. Obviously, 12U Bell is 15-5-1. So the 12U age has been really crushing it, and I'm very proud of them as the head of 12U. 11U Burn, they finished second this weekend. They're really starting to come around. They're playing some good baseball. I mean, typically second-level Bears teams aren't going out and crushing other teams very often, and 11U Burn crushed both teams they played on Saturday. I'm really proud to see what they're doing. They've got a lot of good players on the team, and a lot of players who are working hard, and a lot of players I think you'll see on the future of top-level teams for the Bears. So very exciting to see what's happening there. It's fun to look at our top 3 teams. We had that big preseason debate of who's the best team. Is it 11U Floyd? Is it 12U Floyd? Is it 14U Dalton? And to this point in the season, obviously a long way to go, but each of the 3 teams kind of has their own stat that they are the king of. Like I mentioned, 14U Dalton, they've got the most wins in the organization. 12U Floyd, they've got the most championships. Well, 11U Floyd, they have the highest winning percentage. So each team kind of has their own moniker, of what they've been the best at so far. It's going to be exciting to see which team really if there can be a triple crown, where they win all three of those categories, or if we're going to end the season with having to decide, man, who was the best team when this team was good at this and this team was good at this. So all these teams obviously doing a great job pushing each other, and I think that's really driven all three higher, has been that internal competition. We talk about internal competition within players on a certain team, how when two guys are competing, usually they both get better. I think we're seeing the same thing with our top teams, where the three of them are all trying to be the best team, and it's making them all better. So very proud of what they're doing. Another precision pitching no-hitter this weekend, ZZ Garcia threw a no-hitter on Saturday. And I'll tell you what, ZZ, he's been in precision pitching all winter long, and he's starting to look really good. His velocity's getting up. He's developed a nice little off-speed pitch that he probably needs to throw a little bit more in games because it's pretty filthy, but he did not need too much off-speed this weekend because he was blowing fastballs by guys, ended up with a no-hitter. So congratulations, ZZ, and chalk it up to another no-hitter for precision pitching. We had a bunch of home runs this weekend, 25 to be exact. We were mashing the ball over the fence this weekend, and it's going to be a long list, so get ready for it. Here are all the guys who hit home runs this weekend. Tegan Kreitler from 14U Dalton and Nayo Guzman from 13U Floyd. They each hit 3. Vince Dalton hit 2 this weekend, putting him back in the home run lead with 11. Jack Dalton hit 2 this weekend. Carson Donsbach hit 2 this weekend. Remember, Brandon Bernstill said Donsbach will be an all-star in May. He was not in April, and he's certainly making Bernie look good so far. A pair of home runs this weekend. Here is a big list of guys who hit 1. Tyvor Zazueta, Santiago Story, Landon Nickerson, Wyatt Poore, Andrew Willeret, Ben Combs, Alex Ruppel, Brennan Thompson, Caleb Jamalva, Ryder Beckerman, Sam Dunn, and Harrison Blebaum. Shout out to Harrison Blebaum for my 10U squad. They all hit 1 this weekend, and if you're counting, that adds up to 24. I do have one more, and I gotta take a moment for this one because this is going to be our hack of the week, and it's a guy who, since he's joined the organization, he has just gone straight to work. He's put his head down, gotten in all the extra programs. I see him at the Bud Dome 4 or 5 times a week. And this is a guy who, to be frank, was not very good when he joined the Bears. And he has continually gotten better, and he's starting to amaze some people. And he hit his first over-the-fence home run this weekend. That is Dominic Palucci. Really proud of you, Dominic. Congratulations. That's something that nobody can ever take away from you. And I'll tell you what, I'll make a bold prediction. And if you know Dominic, this may not be that bold. But I'm going to predict that is not the last over-the-fence home run that Dominic hits. I think he's going to hit a few more. So really proud of you, Dominic. Congratulations. You are our hack of the week. And to take a look at some of these other big hits, these home runs, these extra base hits, let's get into everybody's favorite segment. It's hacking time.
Everything litty, I love when it's hot. Turned to the city, I broke out the notch. Got some more millies, I keep me a knot. I created history, it made me a lot. He tried to diss me and it don't false. We call them chopsticks cause they gonna chop. Took her out of filers cause of pop. I run it like Nike, we got it on lock. Cardiac eye, I'm the boss man in a suit with no tie. I can't be sober, I gotta stay high. Put me some in the can and it's dry. Riding the special like Bunny and Clyde. Don't worry, baby, I keep me some fire. Shenanigans and Birkin, she cannot decide. The ladies Mercedes, here goes the surprise. Don't sleep on Miss Lady, her pride. In her back while I'm gripping her side. Big and mad back, this ain't regular size. We really fly, we like pelican guys. She range slick, I can tell her the skies. Upgrade at my wrist, put her gas in the sky. She sing I might sign her and change her whole life. I taught her to goggle and work on her highs. Everything litty, I love when it's hot. Turned to the city, I broke out the notch. Got some more millies, I keep me a knot. I created history, it made me a lot. He tried to diss me and it don't false. We call them chopsticks cause they gonna chop. Took her out of filers cause of pop. I run it like Nike, we got it on lock.
Get it, money, drink, king, Anna, burn, bring them so much. I don't wanna put them in by myself. I just passed it to the door, like when it's spent. I took the Billy Cool back, then I hopped in the car. I put the in front of the Billy in front of the driver. And made the shit steady weedy, can't smoke in the road. Right, wow. I'm still double cut up, I'm drinking, I shoot off the tires, huh? I'm in the coupe by myself. I had to kick her though when I was 5. Keep the awards on the shelf. Hostess around in the fire. I'm sick and tired of these. Act like they fine and telling the lies. Acting like they the one created this and they get all this drip from my guys. Yeah, Cartier eyes, Cartier cup, Cartier as the watch, Cartier love, Cartier the thigh, Cartier spec buffalo on the side. Prison cut diamonds, they Cartier, yeah. Cartier bad for the Cartier thigh. Sky ring look cool with 200 the dash. Cartier jeans, ain't no way I can say. Ain't no way I'm ever gon' go out. Man, I can't go out, no way I'm gon' go out. I just grip on her and I show it. I sit like a champ and I wait on her whole lot. I can whip up a new Chanel paddock. I whip with the wrist and I don't break the door out. Turn that whole top floor to her. 100 racks and 1 2 bought the flood out. Cat, money, K, Anna, I don't wanna put it by myself. I just passed it to the door. It's lit.
I like the 504 boys, how I move through the lobby. Since 12, the flame been hot just to show you the time frame. 100 mil down on my desk, but I'm still up deciding. Mashing M's in my account to the truck in my driveway. I'm in that photo by myself. Know it's 100 more hundreds outside. Know they gon' ride to the death. Had some good years, ain't no way I get tired. I gotta do what I feel. Every day Super Bowl, get a well. I put a lot on myself. And then feel Richard Mill on like Odell. She slid her head, now my best is to grab a torpedo. I had to go back and legal my slides like I'm 13-0. I told her, baby, this not the remix, this is a part of the sequel. No, we not living the same, we not making the same, we not equal. Yeah. Lil' mama can fly, had some troubles, put that in the sky. Thought the angels know the devil would try. It's so hot, you thought Paris Hilton just said it. When we come out, we can't help but leave damage. After party, astro world at the planet. Laid the map out, but they didn't understand it. When I'm home, know that I f*** on a Grammy. Yeah.
Welcome back to the Bears Baseball Network. Brandon Burnstill joining the show, and it's all high school players for the rest of this episode. We've got sleepers and breakouts, and then later on we're going to make our preseason picks for high school MVP, high school Cy Young, and high school Platinum Glove for the summer season. All right, Bernie, we each got 3 sleepers, 3 breakouts to talk about. And let's go ahead and start with you, Bernie, with your sleepers. And again, a sleeper is a guy who's under the radar. Guys are not talking about him as much as they should. Who's a sleeper for you, Bernie?
My first sleeper, I'm going to go with Doc Cook from 18U Burnsville. I mean, this is a guy I got to watch last year, and really, he was kind of in a competition for that ace role on my team. It was between like him, Kyle Osborne, Jack Bussin, a lot of different guys. But this year, I mean, it's him this year. He's the guy on the team. He's going to go out there every Sunday, and a lot of people at 18U talk about these guys like KK, Eric Stewart. Doc's legit. All right, he's throwing over 80, has good off-speed stuff. And this year, he's going to turn to a certified ace and be legit. Yeah, one of the hardest workers all offseason long in terms of his pitching. I expect big things from Doc as well. For me, I'm going to go with 16U Floyd player Sam Wortham. He's a rookie this year, and I think he's going to come in batting maybe near the top of the order, maybe in the middle, but either way, he's a great on-base guy, good speed. I think he's going to surprise people with his power, and again, he's got great barrel skills and a good defender out in the outfield as well. I'm excited about this guy. I think he's a really solid player, and I think he could fill a hole in that 16U Floyd team and really give an addition to that team beside Mac Floyd and Brennan Nixon. So I'm excited to see what Sam Wortham does this year. I think he is a big sleeper heading into this season. Bernie, your second sleeper. I'm going to stay right home, go to my 15U team. We're going to go with Vince DiPiazza, right? When you look at someone, this kid's a hard worker all offseason. was in free swing, hits the ball, I think, like 97 now. And when you look at 15U, I mean, at least when I think of 15U first, what I think a lot of people think about is someone like Alex Hobson or Fred Smith, the guys who have been the head of the age for a while. But Vince, he's going to start the year right in the middle of the order in that 3, 4, 5 area, and he's going to be a big contributor.
Yeah, Vince DiPiazza is certainly one of the better hitters on that team last year, and I could definitely see him taking a step forward this year. And I agree, Bernie, he doesn't get the talk that maybe he deserves. I'm going to go with a guy who I have been working with all winter long in pitching. He's going to play for 18U Burnstill, and that is McCain Zimmer. This is a guy who I'm excited about going into this year. I think he's done a lot this offseason to really improve. He's gotten his fastball up to 80 miles an hour and right above that, and I think this is a guy who's really going to surprise some people with his velo and has developed a little bit of an off-speed pitch as well. You know, if you know McCain Zimmer from last season, you know, a middle-of-the-road guy on the mound could go in and give you a couple innings. I think he's going to be more than that this year, and I think he's going to be a real contributor to that 18U Burnstill pitching staff. I'm excited to see what McCain Zimmer can do. You know, if he can pound the zone, I think he'll be very effective when he's in the strike zone. Bernie, give me your last sleeper here.
My last sleeper, we're going to 18U Floyd. Give me Jackson Bell. I mean, the reason he's on my sleeper list and not on my breakout list is because I'm not sure, like, going into opening day, he's going to have an everyday role. I think he's going to have to work for a spot, but this kid hits the ball over 100. He had a couple home runs during high school season, and this kid plays good defense on the infield. I mean, he's going to bring him to the lineup, and he's going to be a mainstay by the end of the season.
Yeah, the perennial sleeper, Jackson Bell. It feels like every year we kind of think of him as the sleeper guy, what he could be, and he's only gotten better every year. I mean, he's kind of the definition of hard work in the Bears. You know, there's really only two guys who I think work, have the work ethic Jackson Bell does, or really one other guy along with him, and that was Kennedy Floyd, who's obviously a graduate now. So I think Jackson Bell, he's easily the hardest worker in the Bears, and I think he definitely will work for a spot on that 18 Floyd team. My last sleeper is going to be a guy who is certainly not a sleeper when you talk about his pitching, but when you go to his offense, I think Caleb Kennedy is a guy who's going to surprise some people this year. He hit a couple home runs in his high school season, and I think, if he can really get his head down and put the bat on the ball, I mean, he's going to be in contention for the home run race at the high school level. I think this guy's got sneaky power, and really, if you go back last year and look at the last 6 or 7 weekends, this guy was on a tear. I mean, it seems like he was hitting a double every single at bat. So I think this guy is very underrated when it comes to his bat, and I think not a lot of people are talking about his bat, and I think he could be a very sneaky contributor for the 18U Floyd team this year, who's going to need to replace some key contributors. So I'm excited to see what KK does on the offensive side this season to go along with, obviously, his ace caliber pitching. Let's move into our breakouts. Again, a breakout is a player who's going to take their skill set from last year and bring it to a whole nother level. They're breaking out, as to say. So there are different levels of breakouts. There's guys who break from the second team to the top team, guys who break from the bench to a starting role, and guys who break from starting role to superstar. So we'll see what kind of breakouts we got on this list. Bernie, we'll go ahead and start with you. Give me your first breakout.
My first breakout is going to be Brennan Brunette. This kid played with me a lot last fall on 18U Burnstill. He was my leadoff guy. And you want to talk about someone who literally can do everything right. He hits for contact. He hits for power. He's a good defender in the infield and the outfield. Good speed, good base runner. Does everything right. And this offseason, he put his head down and he worked hard. All right. He was in free swing, I think, a lot of the winter, drop air club. And I think this is a situation to where I think he's going to start the season on the starting lineup. But by the end of the year, I would not be surprised if this guy is bagged for the top of that 18U Floyd order.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think this is the hardest Brennan Burnett's worked in an offseason and in his entire Bear career. So I'm definitely excited to see what that work will do for him. He had a good high school season. I think he's going to roll with that straight into the summer season. And I'm excited to see what he can do. My first breakout is going to be a 15U Burnstill player and a guy that I've been a believer in since he joined the organization, and that is Rocky Tucker. I think he's going to break out on two fronts. I think his pitching, he was a solid guy last year. He was their ace on 15U Burnstill, but he wasn't really an ace. He wasn't really going out there and winning games all on his own. I think he's going to do that this season. He's going to be the Sunday guy, but I think he's going to be a guy who you can already mark it as a win, their first Sunday game. I think he's that kind of talent on the mound, and I'm excited to see what he can do if he actually puts it all together. But his hitting, I think, is going to take a huge step forward. I mean, this is a guy who, just to be frank, I mean, he's one of the lesser hitters on that 15U Burnstill team last year. I think he's going to take a real step forward, and I think he could be all the way up in the cleanup spot when all is said and done for that 15U Burnsville team. I believe in him. He's been one of the hardest workers in the organization over the past year and a half since he joined, and I'm really excited to see what he does on both sides of the ball, both his bat and his arm. Rocky Tucker, I think, is going to have a fantastic year. Bernie, give me your next breakout.
Next breakout, we're going to go to 16U Floyd. Give me Andrew Engelken, man. This kid, talking about just like a pure hitter, right? Does everything, hit for a little bit of power, hits for good contact. And he's going to take the step forward this year from being, last year he was the bench guy, he started, but he got subbed out. I think this year, there's definitely room on that 16 Floyd team for him to move up into that 5, even like the 2, 4, like that range, like top of the order range, right? So this kid, and don't let pitching go under the radar here, right? I don't know how many innings he's going to get on 16 Floyd, but he can pitch, and he's gotten a lot better this offseason. Yeah,
definitely a guy who's going to be one of the most improved, I think, over the offseason. But he's always been a very underrated bat. I mean, even going back to, a couple of years ago, I mean, he's been an underrated bat really since he joined the Bears. He's underrated for sure. So I'm excited to see if he can take his game to another level. I'm going to go with another 16U Floyd guy, and a guy who's definitely at the back of the bench to start the year, but I think is going to really break into maybe even a starting lineup everyday role. But I think definitely he's going to break from the back of the bench to getting some more consistent playing time, and that's Chase Acker. I mean, this is a guy who's been working hard all winter long. His exit velocity has grown exponentially over the offseason, and he hit a home run for the spring team this spring season. I think this guy's going to come with some sneaky power, and like you said, Bernie, there's room on the 16U Floyd team for guys to break in. There's not really 9 established guys in the lineup for that team. There's a lot of holes to be filled. And I think Chase Acker, if he's given an opportunity, he may just run with it. I'm really excited to see what he can do. I know Rob Floyd, the GM and coach of 16U Floyd, has been impressed with what he's seen from Acker. So I think if Acker makes the most of his initial opportunities, he's only going to get more. So I'm excited to see what he can do this year. I think he's a true breakout candidate. Bernie, you got one more breakout. Let's hear it.
My last breakout, we're going back to 15U Burnsville. My guy, Alex Hobson. This kid, when he joined a couple years ago, his first year, he hit for a decent average. I think he hit like 350, but he had zero power. Last year, he hit just above 300, but he gained a ton of power, right? One of those powerful hitters in the Bears. And this year, I think he puts the two together, and I think he's the type of kid that you can build that 15U age around as they continue to get better.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Alex Hobson. I think he's one of those guys who's breaking from, in accordance to his team, he's a star. He's a star in 15U Burnsville, but I think he's going to break into that level of being a star in general in the Bears, a name who everybody's talking about, not just the people who follow 15U. So I think it's a great pick. I'm going to go with a guy who, once again, is definitely not a breakout with his arm because this guy's a monster on the mound, but a guy who I think is going to break out with his bat, and that's Elliot Myers. This guy is now hitting the ball 105 miles an hour, and I think, he's got all the potential in the world to be a top hitter for that 16U Floyd squad, who really has not found a cleanup hitter. They've had to run a ton of guys through that cleanup spot, and I don't think Elliot Myers is going to start the year at cleanup, but I think he could end the year at cleanup, because right now for him, the biggest issue is that he can't get the ball in the air. He hits the ball 105 into the ground. If he can raise that launch angle, you're talking about a guy who could hit several home runs this season. So he's a guy who I think will break out with his bat, going from being a 10 hitter for the most part last year, and when he wasn't pitching, he usually was on the bench even. I think he'll be a mainstay in that lineup for most of this season, and I'm excited to see what he can do with his bat. So those are all our sleepers and breakouts. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we've got our preseason picks for our high school awards. We'll be right back.
I'm Rocky Tucker from 15U Burnsville. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.
Welcome back to the Bears Baseball Network. I'm Robbie Floyd. That's Brandon Burnstill. We've got our preseason award picks for our high school summer season. This is tough, Bernie, because the summer season not very long for these high school guys. Just about 7 tournaments or so for the high school guys in the summer season. So not a lot of time. If you get off to a slow start, there's really not a lot of time to turn it around. So when we're making these picks, Bernie, we not only have to pick great players, but we got to pick guys who we think will get off to a good start as well. We've got our Platinum Glove, our Cy Young, and our MVP. We're each going to give you one official pick and also a dark horse pick, a guy who is definitely not a favorite to win the award, but could possibly. So let's go ahead and get it started with our Platinum Glove. This goes to the best defender at the high school level for the Bears in the summer season. Bernie, I'll let you go first. Give me your pick for Platinum Glove for our high school players.
My Platinum Glove pick, We're gonna go to 18 Burstow and give me Tommy Filarski, man. This kid last fall when I had him, so I think the fall's like 13, 14 tournaments, something like that. He made 2 errors all fall. I mean, this kid, he has a decent arm, he has good range, he has the glove. I mean, he does everything perfectly on defense and just doesn't make errors. So.
Yeah, I think there's a real case to be made that he's the best infielder at the high school level defensively, and I think certainly he's going to be playing shortstop every inning for that 18U Burnsville squad, and I think he's going to get all the opportunities to win the Platinum Glove Award because, shortstop's one of those positions where when you think Platinum Glove, that's where you go first. And then if there's not a shortstop who deserves it, then you go other places. So I think Tommy Filarski, he's a great pick. I'm going to go with a guy who, in my opinion, is the most impactful defender on the Bears, the best defender on the Bears, and that's Mac Floyd. He's a center fielder for 16U Floyd. He's been the best outfielder in the Bears, I think, for a while, really since he moved to the outfield from the infield. I guess 5 years ago now. It was a while ago. But he's just gotten better and better every single year. And he makes some plays where you're sitting in the dugout and a ball gets hit and it's like, that's a double, that's a triple. And Matt gets to it standing up like with ease. I mean, he's slowing down as he catches the ball. It's not even one he has to dive for. He makes those types of plays with ease. And I think he's definitely the favorite to win the award. I'd be really surprised if he didn't. So he's going to be my pick. Bernie, give me your dark horse for this Platinum Glove pick.
A dark horse. We're going to go down to 15U Burnsville. Give me Fred Smith, man. This guy, really, realistically, he's only played outfield for about a year and a half. He was an infielder before that. I moved him out there. And as a freshman this year, he was a starting center fielder on his JV team. Right? And this kid, he showed flashes last season where he just makes these plays, kind of like Mac Floyd, I think, will make every once in a while. You're like, oh, my God. Now, he did make some stupid plays at times, but I think this year, those go away with more experience, and I think he does have a decent shot at winning this award at some point.
Yeah, I think definitely, Bernie, for the future of these high school awards, I definitely think Fred Smith will win a Platinum Glove at some point. We'll see if it's this year. I think that's a really good dark horse pick because of the potential is there. I'm going to go with a guy who really doesn't have a primary position. He plays all over the place, but wherever you put him, he gets really good defensive numbers, and that's Will Mason. Put him in the infield, put him in the outfield, put him at third, short, second, left, right. It really doesn't matter. Will Mason's going to be an above average to great defender wherever you put him. I think for 18U Burnsville, he's going to have to be that cog who really, it's like, Will, bring 6 gloves to the field because you're going to have to play a different position every single game. And I think when you have those guys that are so impactful, because really the Platinum Glove Award goes to the most impactful defender. And when you have a guy who can play anywhere and play it well and play it, not just making all the easy plays, but making some really nice plays, I think that could be a guy who wins the award. So I think Will Mason, a sneaky pick to win this award because he really plays all over the place. Some other candidates for the Platinum Glove Award, I think Sam Weiss, definitely for 18U Floyd. He's their catcher. Mateo Grassi, he'll play some outfield and first base for 18U Floyd. Nathan Sandler, he's the right fielder for 16U Floyd. And Lucas Levy is the starting shortstop for 16U Floyd. I think all those guys could certainly win the Platinum Glove Award. Let's move on to Cy Young. This goes to the best pitcher at the high school level for the summer season. A lot of good pitchers at the high school level, Bernie. Give me your pick for Cy Young.
My Cy Young pick, go to 18U Floyd. Give me Eric Stewart, man. Eric Stewart, he has good stuff. He throws decently hard, but not overpowering. But he has what I call the dog mentality, man. I mean, this kid goes out there. You'll never hear about his arm hurts, He goes out there with the intention of getting 21 outs in 7 innings, striking out every single batter. And he's the type of guy that can lead a staff, and he'll carry you through any game you want him to. He'll carry you the whole game. Doesn't matter how long the game goes. He's just that kind of guy.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys who had to fill a lot of different roles for 18U last year. He was a starter for some of the year. He was a reliever for some of the year. And it really didn't matter when Rob Floyd asked him to pitch. He went out there and he pitched well, and I think he's a guy who could definitely take a step forward and be the best pitcher at the high school level. I'm going to go with the guy who I think is the favorite going into this year. I mean, a monster season last year, an ERA below 3, and I think he's going to even lower it this year, and that's Elliot Myers. I think he's the best pitcher at the high school level. He's a superstar. He's got 5 different pitches that he can throw all for strikes. He had a monster season in his high school season, and I think he's going to be the ace of that 16U Floyd team. And he's another guy, like I mentioned before, who you can kind of put a check mark by the 16U Floyd first game on Sunday that it's going to be a win because Elliot Myers is going to win it single-handedly. He can win games 1-0, I mean, realistically. So I think Elliot Myers, is the shoo-in for this pick. I normally don't like picking the favorites for these awards, but I've done it twice now for these high school awards. But I think that'll change with our MVP picks a little bit later. But before our MVP picks, let's look at our dark horse picks for Cy Young. Bernie, give me your dark horse for the Cy Young Award.
My dark horse Cy Young was also one of my sleepers, the ace of 18U Burnsville, Doc Cook. For all the reasons I said before, kid has good stuff, throws the ball over 80. He is the certified ace this year. He's had a real chance to showcase. And again, he's one of those type of guys that we might need him to go out there and win us some Sunday games, right? So I think he can do it. He's going to be my dark horse pick.
Yeah, I had trouble with this one, Bernie, because you think of a lot of the high school pitchers, a lot of them are big names. There's not really, when you get to the high school level, there's so few pitchers, because you really only need 4 starters and 1 reliever to get you through a weekend. It's not like the younger levels where you need so many arms. Because, when you look at 18U Floyd, Adam Smith, Caleb Kennedy, obviously you picked Eric Stewart, but none of those guys are dark horses. So I was struggling with this one, and then I decided, if things go wrong for 16U, 18U pitching staffs, give me the best guy on 15U. Give me Rocky Tucker as my pick for the Cy Young dark horse. For all the reasons I mentioned earlier when I was talking about him as a breakout, I think he's going to absolutely shove on Sundays for that 15U Burnsville team, and I think he's certainly not a favorite to win it, but if things go wrong for Elliott Myers, if things go wrong for the 18U guys, maybe Rocky Tucker could end up with the Cy Young Award. Either way, I think he's going to be a fantastic pitcher, and I think he will win a Cy Young at some point. Let's some other candidates for the Cy Young Award. Of course, I mentioned Adam Smith, Caleb Kennedy, and Mateo Grassi are all in that 18U Floyd squad. They're going to deal when they pitch. And then Lucas Levy for 6U Floyd. He's another candidate to win the Cy Young. Moving on, our MVP conversation. Obviously, again, our awards are split between the youth and high school levels. So our MVP for the high school level for the spring and summer season, our most valuable player, Bernie, give me your pick for this one.
All right, so when I was looking at this award, right, to me, there's 2 heavy favorites. You have Mac Floyd and you have Brendan Nickerson, the 2 horses of 16U Floyd, man. And I'm going to go with Brendan Nickerson. I think that he might just be the best pure hitter at the high school level, and this kid just hits bombs. I mean, he hit, I think, 9 last year, and he hit some for his high school varsity team. As a sophomore, he been a cleanup most of the games for his varsity team, and he hit some on the varsity level this year. I think he just continues to scorch the ball all summer.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with that pick. Obviously, Brendan Nickerson, probably the best hitter at the high school level. I agree with you, Bernie. Mac Floyd, probably the second favorite, if not, in some people's minds, the first favorite, maybe. But I think those 2 are definitely 1A, 1B. But I'm going to go back to my old style. I like to pick the guys who aren't the premium favorites, but the guys who are a little bit down the list. I'm going to go with the guy I really believe in, and Ian Lancaster. This guy, I think, may lead the Bears in home runs at some point, whether it's this summer or this fall. I think he may have the most power in the Bears. This is a guy who squats 500 pounds. I mean, he deadlifts 400 pounds. I mean, this guy's an absolute animal in the gym. I think when he really puts it all together, and you saw it at times last year, and you saw it at times in his high school season, where he goes through weekends and he goes through stretches where he's just scorching the ball every at bat. He's a guy who can hit the ball to all fields with power, and I think he may just be the best hitter in the Bears this year. So give me Ian Lancaster for the MVP pick. And I'll tell you what, unless things go horribly wrong for Ian, he's going to be my pick for the fall as well, because I think he's that type of guy. And even in the fall, all our 18U guys are graduating. I think Ian Lancaster will be the leader for that 18U Floyd team going forward. Bernie, give me your dark horse for this MVP award.
My dark horse pick. We're going to go to 15U Burnsville. I already talked about him once. Just give me Alex Hobson. I mean, this kid, like I said earlier, this kid's going to turn into a bona fide superstar this year. And I don't know, like a dark horse comparison, I'm kind of like thinking about Hobson and Andrew Willer in the same breath. He could turn into that type of like talent for an age level that kind of needs it right now. I think he'd be the leader of that age. And yeah, he's going to turn into a superstar this year.
Yeah, I got to be honest, when me and Bernie both made our list before we talked to each other, I had Alex Hobson as my dark horse as well. Obviously I wanted to change it so we didn't have the same name, but I think he could be a huge player for that 15U Burnsville squad. I've been a big fan of Alex Hobson. I think even last year he was not talked about in the organization as much as I think he deserved to be. I think he's a stud, and I think he could definitely win the MVP award, if not this year at some point. I'm going to go with a guy who I like a lot, who's definitely a hard worker. I think you put him up at the elite levels of hard work, maybe just below that Jackson Bell tier of hard workers. I'm going to go Sam Weiss. This is a guy who's really turned his body around. He's strong now. He came into the Bears as a small, scrawny guy. I remember I was the first coach that Sam Weiss played for when he joined the Bears, and he was this little, small, scrawny guy. I was like, what am I going to do with him? And then, lo and behold, a year later, this guy is jacked. He's got a six-pack. He's got muscles that bulge out of his shirt. And I'll tell you what, that's the kind of guy I like. I think he's going to drive the baseball with some power. He's another guy I like that has sneaky power for his body. I think he's going to play Gold Glove defense behind the plate, and I think Whether he's starting the season at leadoff or somewhere in the top 5 for that 18U Floyd squad, I think he's going to be a big force on that offense, and I think that there's an outside chance he could sneak away with this MVP award. So, interesting pick for me. Sam Weiss is my dark horse. Some other candidates, obviously, Bernie, you mentioned Mac Floyd. I think he's probably the other big favorite. Eddie Hogan-Miller for 18U Floyd and Mateo Grassi for 18U Floyd, also big favorites for that award. So, a lot to happen here. Our high school guys, our 16U and 15U guys start this weekend, so be sure to go and check them out. Our 18U guys are waiting one more weekend, and then they will start next weekend. But a lot of high school baseball, there's something different in high school baseball, man. Some of these youth games, they've turned into blowouts. There's some sloppy defense, maybe some sloppy base running. But these high school games, it feels like real baseball. So certainly go out, check out our high school teams when you get a chance. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Bears Baseball Network, and we'll talk to you all next week.